Graphite KOS is Synaptica's software application for creating and curating knowledge organization systems, KOS, based on linked data and semantic web standards. KOS created in Graphite are stored in the backend RDF graph database, or triple store, Ontotext GraphDB. With Graphite, you can quickly design, build, and manage enterprise knowledge organization systems using an intuitive graphical user interface. Let's look at scheme versioning and forking in Graphite 5.0. In this video, we will briefly cover the scheme admin area, focusing on the versioning and forking of schemes. It is possible to replicate the scheme exactly to create a version, or to fork the scheme to create a completely new version to be used as a template, or to branch the scheme for significant changes. In the Scheme Admin menu, any scheme can be selected and versioned using the Replicate Scheme button. In the Replicate Scheme panel, selecting Versioning presents options for making a version of the current selected scheme. The new scheme is automatically assigned a name appended with version and a date timestamp, but the name can be changed to any unique value. A new scheme URI can be applied, and relationships within and between schemes can be copied or removed. Any existing collections associated with the scheme can also be copied to be used with the new version. A new concept-based URI can be created to apply to the existing concepts and newly created concepts going forward. A concept URI suffix of GUID or Graphite ID can be applied. Selecting Replicate will generate a new version of the scheme with the selected options in its origin scheme location. Scheme versions can be managed in the system by using folders. In this example, I am maintaining all version schemes in a folder called Archive Schemes. I can move the scheme I just created into that folder by dragging and dropping it. By appending a date or version number to the scheme name, I can see when versions of a scheme were created. These versions can be kept to review for changes or can be used to roll back to a previous version if changes in the taxonomy should be reverted in bulk. In the Scheme Admin menu, any scheme can be selected and forked using the Replicate Scheme button. Scheme forking can be used to create a new scheme which lives completely independently of the original scheme. Once forked, the scheme has no relationship to the original and has new URIs for all resources. In the Replicate Scheme panel, selecting Forking presents options for making a forked copy of the current selected scheme. The new scheme is automatically assigned a name appended with copy, but the name can be changed to any unique value. A new scheme URI can be applied, and whether the scheme structure or the scheme structure and all concepts should be included. Relationships within and between schemes can be copied or removed. A crosswalk relationship can be applied to the scheme to map it back to the original. The crosswalk relationship must be set up in advance in order to select it from the drop-down options. Any existing collections associated with the scheme can also be copied to be used with the new version. A new concept-based URI can be created to apply to the existing concepts and newly created concepts going forward. The permissions can also be replicated for the scheme. A concept URI suffix of GUID or Graphite ID can be applied. Selecting Replicate will generate a new forked copy of the scheme with the selected options in its origin scheme location. As before, I can move the scheme I just created into Archive Schemes by dragging and dropping it. By appending a date or version number to the scheme name, I can see when versions of the scheme were created. Once created, I can relate the scheme to itself using the destination-origin crosswalk relationship I selected. If I go to the Front-End Concept Manager, I can see both schemes I created have been surfaced in my project by default. It's possible to remove these permissions or change projects by selecting Project Admin from the main menu. If I look at the version scheme I created, the scheme and all its concepts are linked to the original with previous and next links pointing to the origin scheme and concepts in the metadata panel. Similarly, the concepts are linked to the origin concepts and the previous next links in their metadata panel. Selecting any concept in the forked scheme, I can see the custom crosswalk relationship I created. Selecting the concept in the origin relationship will redirect me to the concept in the destination relationship, and vice versa. Selecting the previous concept will redirect me to the original. If I look at the forked version of the scheme I created, I'll see there is also the previous next link. Like a concept, I can click on this and be redirected to the origin scheme. The origin scheme will show all the next versions in the metadata panel. If I go to the Collections tab, I can see a collection I created in the original scheme and the original concepts and the concepts in the copied scheme, all showing with their scheme names appended. We've gone through a very brief, high-level overview of scheme versioning and forking in Graphite 5.0. Find out more about Synaptica and our products and services at www.synaptica.com or send us an inquiry at info@synaptica.com.